His artificial heart was flawless, printed from his own cells, designed by quantum computers. But it was killing him slowly, until Dr. Shadow showed up with molecular engineering that changed everything. NEO, Geneva Medical Complex, Level 47. The year 2089. James Rivera lay connected to 17 different machines, each one monitoring a different aspect of his failing biology. Holographic displays floated in the sterile air, showing vital signs in real time. Neural interfaces fed data directly to the hospital's quantum AI. The 3D printed heart in his chest beat with perfect mechanical precision, 72 beats per minute exactly as programmed. But every beat was poison. Dr. Sophia Chan, head of cardiovascular bioengineering, stared at the holographic displays floating above James's bed. Blood oxygen dropping. Cellular rejection increasing. Immune system attacking the very organ designed to save his life. 6 months since implantation, and James was dying faster than before the surgery. The room hummed with advanced technology. Molecular scanners tracked every cellular change. Quantum sensors monitored biological processes at the subatomic level. AI systems processed millions of data points every second, searching for answers that didn't exist. The most advanced medical facility in human history was helpless against a problem they couldn't even define. "I don't understand, Dar." Chen muttered to her colleague, Dr. Marcus Webb, who was reviewing the quantum cellular analysis on his neural interface. "The heart is perfect, grown from his own stem cells, designed by the most advanced quantum computers on Earth. Molecular structure is identical. DNA match is exact. His body should accept it completely." Dr. Webb manipulated the holographic data with hand gestures, zooming in on cellular interactions. "Look at this. The immune response isn't following normal rejection patterns. Usually we see T-cell activation, inflammatory responses, standard biological warfare. But this is different. It's like his body knows something we can't measure." James opened his eyes slowly. The neural dampeners kept most of the pain away, but he could feel something foreign in his chest, something that didn't belong. The artificial heart pumped blood through his veins, but it felt like liquid metal. Cold, mechanical, alien. As if his soul was rejecting something his mind couldn't understand. The room's AI spoke in a calm, synthetic voice. "Patient Rivera vitals continue declining. Cellular rejection accelerating despite maximum immunosuppression. Recommend immediate consultation with Mars Colony bioengineering specialists." "How long?" James asked, his voice barely audible over the hum of life support systems. Dr. Chen approached his bedside, her expression carefully neutral. She had delivered this kind of news before, but never to someone whose case defied everything they understood about biocompatibility. "We're exploring several new options, James. The research team is working around the clock. The quantum computers are running billions of simulations." "How long do I have?" The pause told him everything. Dr. Chen's neural interface displayed the brutal mathematics of his decline. 2 weeks. Maybe 3 if we can slow the rejection process. James closed his eyes. 2 weeks. He was 34 years old, a quantum engineer who had helped design the very computers that created his artificial heart. He had worked on the Mars Colony medical systems, spent 5 years developing the quantum processors that made advanced bioprinting possible. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had built the technology that was supposed to save him, and now that same technology was killing him. The original heart failure had been sudden, catastrophic. A genetic defect hidden in his DNA that manifested without warning. One day, he was healthy, working on quantum processors for the Europa Research Station medical systems. The next day, he was in emergency surgery, dying on the table, while robotic surgeons fought to keep him alive long enough for the printers to work. The 3D bioprinting process had taken 18 hours. James watched it through neural link feeds as the quantum computers built him a new heart using his own cells as raw material. Layer by layer, molecule by molecule, the printers constructed life itself. Muscle fibers that contracted perfectly, ventricles that pumped with ideal efficiency, arteries that carried blood with zero resistance. The most advanced medical technology humanity had ever developed, working at the molecular level to create perfect biology. But something had gone wrong. Not with the printing, not with the surgery, not with anything they could measure or quantify. The heart worked perfectly from a mechanical standpoint, but James's body rejected it at a level deeper than DNA, deeper than cellular structure, as if his soul knew the difference between natural and artificial. Dr. Chun had consulted with specialists on 3 continents and 4 off-world colonies. The best bioengineers on Mars colony had reviewed the case through quantum communication links. Europa Station's leading consciousness researchers had studied the neural patterns. Nobody had answers. The technology was perfect, the execution was flawless, the patient was dying anyway. The medical archives contained only 12 similar cases in the past 50 years. All involved artificially grown organs. All resulted in rejection despite perfect biological compatibility. Medical science had labeled it quantum incompatibility syndrome, a term that meant they had no idea what was happening. Dr. Webb spent hours studying the molecular scans, searching for patterns. There's something happening at the quantum level that our sensors can't detect. The cellular structure is perfect, but something else is wrong. Define something else, Dr. Chun said, reviewing the same data for the 100th time. I don't know. The computers say everything is compatible, but the patient's body disagrees. It's like there's a level of biology we haven't discovered yet. The Neo-Geneva Medical Complex was humanity's most advanced healthcare facility. 50 floors of cutting-edge technology built into the Swiss mountains. Quantum computers that could simulate biological processes at the molecular level. AI systems that could diagnose conditions before symptoms appeared. Robotic surgeons that could operate at the cellular level. But none of it could solve James Rivera's problem. That's when the reports started coming in about a man asking questions in the quantum research districts. Scientists mentioned someone in a white coat visiting labs, asking about the patient whose body rejects perfection. Research assistants claimed they'd seen him studying molecular printers, taking notes about the relationship between consciousness and cellular acceptance. Dr. Marcus Volkov from the Europa Station Consciousness Lab sent a message through quantum communication. Someone came asking about quantum consciousness mapping. Claimed he was researching cellular rejection at the awareness level. Never seen technology like what he was carrying. Dr. Chun was reviewing James's latest cellular scans when her assistant, Dr. Lisa Park, knocked on her office door. The holographic displays showed accelerating rejection despite every intervention they had attempted. Doctor, there's someone here about the Rivera case. Says his name is Dr. Shadow. Dr. Shadow? Chun frowned, looking up from the floating data displays. I've never heard of him. What's his specialty? Which research facility is he from? Otmashirupa. He wouldn't say. Just asked about the man whose heart is too perfect. Those were his exact words. Dr. Chin accessed the building's security network through her neural interface. No record of any visitor. No quantum communication logs. No transport records. Where is he now? That's the thing. He was here a minute ago in the reception area. But when I want to get you, he was gone. Security scanners show no record of him entering or leaving. When Dr. Chun reached the reception area, Dr. Shadow was gone. The building's AI had no record of anyone by that name accessing the facility. Quantum sensors that could detect molecular movement showed no unusual patterns. Security systems that monitored 11 dimensions simultaneously had captured nothing. Like he had materialized from the quantum foam itself, then dissolved back into probability. But Dr. Shadow was already in James's room on level 47. He had bypassed 17 security checkpoints, each one using technology that existed on the edge of physics. Walked through walls that existed in 3 dimensions, but not in the 4th. Slipped between the spaces where reality folded in on itself. The room felt different with him there. The machines hummed more quietly, the holographic displays seemed more stable, even the air felt cleaner. Dr. Shadow studied the artificial heart through James's chest wall, not with his eyes, but with senses that operated beyond the electromagnetic spectrum. He could see the quantum signatures, the molecular patterns, the way consciousness interfaced with matter at levels science hadn't discovered yet. The heart was perfect from every measurable standpoint, but completely empty where it mattered most. "Hello, James," Dr. Shadow said quietly. James opened his eyes. Something about the voice felt different from all the others. Not clinical, not desperate, not false hope disguised as optimism. Just presence. Real human presence in a room full of artificial intelligence. "Another doctor?" James asked weakly. "Not exactly. I'm here about your heart." "Which one? The one that failed or the one that's killing me?" "Both. They're more connected than anyone realizes." "Tell me, James, what do you feel when you focus on your chest?" James concentrated on the steady beating in his ribcage. The artificial heart pumped with mechanical perfection, but something was fundamentally wrong. "Cold. It feels cold. Like something that doesn't belong to me. Like wearing someone else's clothes that are the right size, but feel completely wrong. Because it doesn't belong to you. Not in the way that matters. Your doctors created a perfect biological machine, but they forgot to include you in the process." Dr. Shadow reached into his coat and withdrew something that shouldn't exist. A device that looked like liquid mercury shaped into geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Crystalline structures that existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. Technology that operated on principles science hadn't discovered yet. "This is a molecular resonance mapper," Dr. Shadow said. "It reads the quantum signature of living tissue and compares it to consciousness patterns. Your medical science can map DNA and molecular structure, but it can't map the pattern of awareness itself." James stared at the device. His engineering background told him it was impossible, but his dying body told him to listen. "That's theoretically impossible. Consciousness can't be measured at the quantum level. We've tried for decades. Your quantum computers help design your heart based on cellular structure and DNA. Biological compatibility, perfect, molecular construction flawless. But they missed something crucial. They missed the pattern of you." Dr. Shadow activated the device. The air above James's chest shimmered like heat waves, but in dimensions that didn't follow normal physics. Patterns appeared in the air, complex geometric shapes that shifted and flowed like living mathematics. Some patterns were rigid, mechanical, perfect. Others were chaotic, organic, beautiful in their imperfection. Every cell in your body carries not just DNA, but quantum memory. The pattern of your consciousness, the signature of your individual existence. Your original heart carried 34 years of that signature. Every heartbeat, every emotion, every memory encoded at the quantum level. The artificial heart carries none of it. The patterns in the air became more complex, showing 2 different quantum signatures side by side. One chaotic, organic, beautiful in its complexity. The other perfect, geometric, lifeless despite its technical perfection. "So, my body is rejecting the heart because it doesn't recognize my consciousness?" James asked. "Your body is rejecting the heart because it has no consciousness signature. It's technically perfect, but spiritually empty. Like a beautiful painting that captures every detail, but has no soul behind the brushstrokes." Dr. Shadow adjusted the device. The geometric patterns began to shift, merging with the organic ones. "This is what we're going to do. We're going to imprint your consciousness signature onto the artificial heart. Make it truly yours at the quantum level." "Is that actually possible?" Can consciousness be transferred to artificial tissue? Consciousness doesn't transfer, James. It expands. Your awareness already exists at the quantum level in every cell of your body. We're going to teach the artificial heart to remember being part of you. The process begins slowly, carefully. Dr. Shadow placed the device directly on James's chest above the artificial heart. Energy flowed between the machine and the organ, invisible to normal sensors, but visible to quantum perception. The device didn't just read consciousness patterns, it could write them, rewrite them, integrate them with artificial structures. James felt something change immediately. The cold mechanical feeling in his chest began to warm. Not physically, but at some deeper level. The artificial heart still beat with the same rhythm, but now it felt different. Like it was learning, like it was becoming part of him instead of just existing inside him. The consciousness signature is incredibly complex, Dr. Shadow explained as he worked. 34 years of memories, experiences, emotions, all encoded at the quantum level. We're basically teaching your artificial heart to remember being James Rivera. The patterns in the air grew more complex, showing the gradual merger of artificial perfection and organic consciousness. The geometric shapes became more fluid, more alive, while the chaotic patterns became more organized, but retained their essential humanity. This should take several hours, Dr. Shadow said. Your consciousness has to integrate with the artificial tissue slowly, or the shock could damage both the heart and your neural patterns. Why wasn't this done before? Why doesn't medical science know about consciousness signatures? Because consciousness operates in quantum dimensions that your technology is just beginning to access. Your scientists can measure matter and energy, but consciousness exists in the spaces between. It's not made of particles or waves, it's made of possibility itself. The energy flow intensified, carefully controlled. James felt memories flooding through his chest, but not his thoughts as cellular memory. His first heartbeat as a baby, the racing pulse of his first kiss, the steady rhythm during deep sleep, the irregular beats during moments of fear, joy, excitement. Decades of emotional and physical experience being written into the quantum structure of the artificial heart. I can feel it changing, James said, amazed. The heart is learning to be mine. More than that, it's remembering how to be alive. Artificial organs can replicate biological function, but they can't replicate the experience of being alive until consciousness teaches them. The integration process was visible in the floating patterns. Geometric precision slowly gaining organic complexity. Artificial perfection learning to be beautifully imperfect in the way that only living things could be. Dr. Shadow monitored the process through instruments that operated beyond current scientific understanding. The rejection is stopping. Your immune system is recognizing the heart as truly yours now. Not just biologically compatible, but quantum compatible. James sat up slowly for the first time in weeks without assistance. The heart in his chest beat with a rhythm that felt familiar, comfortable, right? Like coming home after a long journey through foreign territory. How do you feel? Dr. Shadow asked. Like myself again. Like the heart belongs to me instead of just existing inside me. It's still artificial, but it feels alive now. Dr. Shadow began deactivating the device. The patterns in the air faded, but the change in James was permanent. The artificial heart now carried the complete quantum signature of his consciousness, 34 years of life experience, encoded at the molecular level. The rejection will stop completely within 24 hours, Dr. Shadow said. Your body will accept the heart because it now recognizes it as truly yours. But more than that, your heart will continue to learn to grow, to adapt, because it now carries your pattern of consciousness. Will you stay? Will the doctors want to study this process? This could revolutionize medicine. I don't need to stay. The heart knows how to be your heart now. As for the doctors, they'll discover consciousness mapping in their own time. Science always catches up to reality eventually. Dr. Shadow stood to leave, but paused at the door. James? Yes. The technology that saved you is remarkable. But technology alone can never be enough. Healing requires the integration of consciousness with matter, spirit with science, heart with heart. After Dr. Shadow left, James lay in bed, feeling the steady, comfortable rhythm of his new heart. Not artificial anymore, but truly his. Enhanced by technology, but animated by consciousness. The monitoring systems showed perfect biological function, but James felt something more. He felt alive in a way the machines couldn't measure. Dr. Chun found him sitting up eating solid food for the first time in weeks when she made her evening rounds. The cellular rejection indicators had dropped to 0. Blood chemistry was normal. Neural patterns showed healthy activity. For the first time since the implantation, James looked not just alive, but healthy. This is medically impossible, Dr. Chun said, reviewing the sudden change in all his vital signs through a neural interface. What happened? Did we adjust your medications? Run some new treatment protocol? I don't think this is about medication, James said. I think this is about consciousness, about making the artificial heart truly mine at levels deeper than biology. Consciousness? James, you're an engineer. You know, consciousness can affect biological processes at the cellular level. James smiled. Maybe consciousness affects everything, and we just haven't figured out how to measure it yet. Maybe the problem with artificial organs isn't technical, it's spiritual. The recovery was complete within a week. James's body accepted the artificial heart completely. The organ that had been killing him became part of him in ways that went beyond the merely physical. His immune system stopped attacking it, his cellular chemistry normalized, his energy levels returned to normal. Dr. Chun wrote extensive papers about the case, but couldn't explain the sudden reversal. No treatment had been administered, no procedure performed, no medication changed. The patient had simply stopped rejecting the heart for reasons that medical science couldn't quantify. James returned to his work in quantum engineering, but with a new focus. Instead of just building computers, he began exploring the intersection of consciousness and technology. How awareness itself might be integrated into artificial systems. How the gap between living and artificial might be bridged not through better technology, but through better understanding of what it meant to be alive. His colleagues thought he had suffered brain damage from the medical crisis. Consciousness mapping? Quantum signatures of awareness? These concepts belonged in philosophy, not engineering. But James had experienced it firsthand. He knew that somewhere in the space between matter and spirit, between technology and consciousness, there were discoveries waiting that would change everything humanity thought it knew about the nature of reality. 6 months later, James published a paper that would eventually revolutionize bioengineering, consciousness mapping in artificial organs, the quantum bridge between mind and matter. The paper described theoretical methods for imprinting individual consciousness signatures onto artificial tissues, integration protocols for merging technological systems with patterns of awareness. The scientific community dismissed it as speculation. The technology seemed impossible with current science. But James had experienced it firsthand. He knew that the future of medicine lay not in perfecting artificial organs, but in teaching them how to be alive. Other patients began reporting similar experiences. Artificial organs that suddenly became more compatible after mysterious treatments. Medical science had no explanation, but the patients knew something had changed at levels deeper than biology. Dr. Shadow had moved on to other patients, other impossible cases where science had reached its limits. He carried with him the understanding that technology could create perfect artificial organs, but only consciousness could make them truly alive. The future of healing lay in the integration of these two realities. Research labs around the world began exploring the quantum relationship between mind and matter. They didn't know why, but they felt drawn to questions about consciousness that had never seemed relevant to medical science before. Funding appeared for studies that shouldn't have been approved. Equipment arrived that shouldn't have been invented yet. The artificial heart in James's chest beat with perfect rhythm. Technological marvel animated by human consciousness. Every beat carried not just blood, but the pattern of awareness that made him uniquely himself. The heart was artificial, but the life it sustained was completely real. James became a bridge between worlds. An engineer who understood that consciousness was as real as matter. A patient who knew that healing required more than medical technology. He worked quietly developing protocols for consciousness integration with artificial systems. The medical establishment resisted, but patients demanded answers. Why did some artificial organs integrate perfectly while others were rejected? The technical specifications were identical, but the outcomes were completely different. Science needed new theories to explain what patients were experiencing. James's heart became a model for a new kind of bioengineering. Artificial organs designed not just for biological compatibility, but for consciousness integration. Technology that could learn to be alive by carrying the patterns of awareness that made each person unique. And in quantum research facilities on three-world scientists work to solve the mystery of consciousness mapping, never knowing that the answer already existed in the space between heartbeats, where matter learned to remember what it meant to be alive. Sometimes late at night, James would put his hand on his chest and feel the quantum signature of his consciousness flowing through the artificial heart. Technology and spirit working together in perfect harmony. The heart was artificial, but the life it sustained was completely real. More real, perhaps, than it had ever been before. Dr. Shadow's work continued across the solar system. Patients whose bodies rejected perfect artificial organs learned to integrate consciousness with technology. The boundary between natural and artificial began to blur as science discovered that life was not about biological chemistry, but about the patterns of awareness that animated matter. The year 2089 would be remembered as the beginning of conscious medicine. The year humanity learned that healing was not about fixing broken parts, but about integrating spirit with technology. About teaching artificial systems not just to function, but to truly live. If this story opened your mind to the incredible possibilities waiting at the intersection of consciousness and technology, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more extraordinary journeys with Dr. Shadow. Because sometimes the most advanced healing happens not when we perfect technology, but when we remember to include the soul.